Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is now called to order, and I'd like to ask our city clerk to call the roll.
All council members are present.
Great, thank you very much. Before we get started with the meeting and do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask Alwyn Olstead to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll bring you up, Mr. Olstead. You come up to the dais here. Well, how about right there? Yeah. And all right, Mr. Olstead, you're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, then after that, just stay there, please.
Oh, okay.
After the Pledge of Allegiance, would you please remain quiet for a brief moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Olstead, Council, would you all come down with me? But we've got to talk about this proclamation. Mr. Olstead, would you like coming in? There we go. Well, Mr. Olstead. Bill Wells.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir. This is Gary Kendrick.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Glad to meet you. Gary, privileged to meet you.
So we are here to honor Mr. Olstead for turning 100. Is that today?
July 21st.
Mr. Olstead turned 100 on July 21st. We have a proclamation for him. And it says, Alwyn Olstead was born July 21st, 1924 in Sioux City, Iowa, to Norwegian immigrants, Olaf and Olena Olstead. Demonstrated exceptional courage and dedication throughout his life. Alvin Norman Olstead graduated from Sioux City's Central High School in 1942, showing early promise and commitment to education. And in March 1943, Alwyn Norman Olstead answered the call to duty to his country and was drafted in the United States Army, achieving the rank of private first class and serving as a marksman in General Patton's 3rd Army Company, 44th Armored Infantry Division, 6th Armored Division. Alvin Norman Olstead bravely fought in the European theater, including the pivotal Battle of the Bulge in Belgium, demonstrating exceptional and extraordinary valor and determination. And whereas Alvin Norman Olstead was wounded in action multiple times, receiving the Purple Heart for injuries sustained, including shrapnel wounds to his back and a gunshot wound to his arm and chest. Despite his injuries, Alvin Norman Olstead displayed resilience and continued to serve until his honorable discharge from the Army on October 25, 1945, aboard the Queen Elizabeth II. And whereas after his military service, Alvin Norman Olstead pursued higher education, earning his undergraduate and graduate degrees, including a master's in theology from Southern Methodist University and a master's in education from San Diego State University. Alvin Norman Olstead embarked as a distinguished career in education, starting as a history teacher and later becoming a counselor at Horace Mann Junior High. Which is where I went to junior high school. In San Diego, and where he served with dedication and distinction until his retirement in 1986. Whereas Alvin Norman Olstead had been a pillar of his community, residing in the Mount Helix area of East County since 1964, and where he and his beloved wife Joyce raised their son, Christopher. Now, therefore, I, Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, do hereby proclaim July 21st, 2024, as Alwyn Norman Olstead Day, in recognition of his bravery, sacrifice, and lifelong dedication to education and community. Let us honor and celebrate Alvin for his extraordinary and exemplary service to our country and his enduring contribution to the lives of countless students and community members. Signed on this day by Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon. We'll take some photos. Don't run away. Mr. Olson, would you like to say a word? You have an extraordinary history, and everybody was so glad you're here.
I appreciate your coming out for this ceremony to honor me. It's a privilege for you to do this for me. I've been with many of you people during the years, and thank you for all your kindness and generosity to me. Thank you very much.
Well said. And happy birthday. And happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Well, I think we should start off all our council meetings like that. That's very nice. What a storied history. That's fantastic. Okay. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the July 9th, 2024 meeting and the agenda of the July 23rd, 2024 meeting in accordance with state law, city council, and housing authority policy. We have several presentations today. The first one is a certificate of appreciation for the town hall attendees. City Manager Mitchell,
Thank you,
share
Mr.
with us about this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The futurist Brian Solis said, "Community is much more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter." And then the anthropologist once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Mayor and members of the City Council, we recently embarked on a marathon of town halls. We did 4 town halls in 8 days, and many of you were there for that. You couldn't all be there at the same time because of Brown Act violations, but you all participated and attended. And as you know, it gave not only the council members but staff, but actually the residents of El Cajon a great opportunity to interact with each other and to hear some amazing ideas. The feedback that was gained from our citizens that participated was outstanding, and it was greatly appreciated. I know that giving up a couple hours or 2 hours in an evening, it was hot on a couple of those evenings, or on a Saturday, is a real dedication. It really says something about what they think about our community. And so we wanted to acknowledge them with a very small token for their service that they provided to our community by representing the entire community to you at these town hall meetings. As you recall, we were talking about the implications of Measure J and as it relates to the budget. So if all those that attended the town halls could come on up, Ms. Tracy Yale and I are going to pass out some certificates. So we want to acknowledge you. So come on down, just stand around, let the council see you. So first we have, this is no special order. Is this the order that you have? The order you gave me? Okay. Peggy Jesu. There's Peggy.
Thank you.
Rain Bricker. Hey, Rain. Rebecca Brandstetter. There's Rebecca. Rebecca Collier. The other Rebecca. Now we have a couple of Roberts, too. We have Robert Douglas.
Thank you, ma'am.
Robert Williams. Samantha Garcia. Scott Penwell. Sherry Ashbaugh. Susan Marquez. Okay. Did we miss anybody? Did everyone get something? All right. So this is just a few of the folks that were able to show up, and we just want to acknowledge them and thank them and make sure that they recognize that we recognize them for their time and dedication. Does anyone from the group want to share Anything from the town hall meeting? Now or never? Now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's all you.
First of all, I would tell you that this was really well orchestrated. The activities, the interaction that took place, the information that was shared, and a shout out to all of the representatives at the back of the room who happened to be there during those discussions as we tried to weigh the pros and cons between what gets funded and what doesn't get funded. Our group was probably the least acrimonious based on what we heard, but it was a robust discussion with a lot of good information going both ways. So thank you so much to Graham and his team for putting this all together and for giving us a chance to have a voice in your decision making. Thank you.
Before you leave, I think some of our council people want to say something to you.
I just want to thank you all for attending. It's really important for the community to be engaged in what happens because we represent you, but we don't necessarily know what you want unless you tell us. So it's super important that you were there. I commend you because, as you can see, we have a large city, but you guys are the dedicated ones that came, and I thank you so much because it is very important for us to move forward and to progress as a community and as a city. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. I want to say something.
Everybody, it's like jury duty. You're stuck now. You got to stay.
I want to underscore how powerful your voices were. Out of the 109,000 residents of our city, you were speaking for them directly to us, to the decision makers. And so just showing up is half the battle, right? And so I can't explain to you how important it is for you to tell us exactly what you're thinking, feeling. As Gary always says, I'm going to take your line, you're the eyes and ears of our community. We're in the community, but we don't see everything. And so we need to hear from you constantly. It's one of the best forms of government is local government because you can look us in the face, you can talk to us, and you can see us. I can't do that with my state representatives or my federal representatives. So please come talk to us. Give us your feedback. We need to hear it so we can make El Cajon better. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time to do this. We make policy and programs, but we have blind spots. And you help us eliminate the blind spots because we think we have covered all the bases, but that's right. They found a blind spot for us. That's why it's so important to hear from you. So thank you for helping make El Cajon a non-blind spot city.
Well, Phil, you stole some of my thunder. You really are our eyes and our ears in the community. But you know, what's even more interesting is we're not infallible. We're just like anybody else. And we hear some of these ideas that come from the community. And a lot of times I'll say, wow, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. So I really appreciate you coming out and telling us what you think, because we can't do this job in a vacuum. And I can't let you go until I compliment Mr. Williams on that fantastic-looking suit. So, again, thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you coming out and being part of us. All right. Next, Chris Berg, the Marketing and Engagement Manager, will share with us about June Bloom of El Cajon.
Mayor, with your permission, we do have a speaker on this item.
You want to start with that?
Yes,
sure.
Please. It's Charles Edward Goss.
Hello, sir.
How are you this evening? First of all, I want to thank the council and mayor for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you. I also want to give all the winners, congratulate them on the effort and time and how much work it took. I'm sure it was a labor of love. I'd also like to commend the city at this point of having the foresight and wanting to improve the quality of life in our area by doing this, I would like to give two suggestions if I could. Suggestion number one, since we call it June Bloom, I would hope that we, in the future, if we do this again, we have the judging earlier in the month of June instead of last week. We're at the last week. We are sitting there looking at less than a week till the 4th of July. And I don't know about you folks, but as a longtime resident of El Cajon, my memories of pool parties, barbecues, picnics, block parties on July 4th, summer's on us. And the plants are feeling it also. The first thing I thought of when I saw June Bloom was the second part of the little three statements that describe the weather we have here in East County. May gray, June gloom, July fry. So the point being is we'd have that, and that would be a really helpful note. Item number 2, we should have a date for the judging, and we should stick to that date. The date got changed. Those of us that were participants still working on the date that was put out on the El Cajon app for the 28th. We find out that the judging took place earlier in the week. People were still adjusting work schedules. People were taking time off of work, spending money. People were taking and having people do work in their yards, and we were only able to find out the judging had already taken place 5 days earlier when I heard rumors of it, and I called the phone number, the contact number, and left a message, and no one returned it. And I have to admit, my wife is much more aggressive than I, and she contacted Councilman Goebel. We met him on neighborhood watch programs at the different meetings and so forth. She called him, and he said, well, I have a contact. Mr. Berg is... I know he's out of town, but I've got a contact number. And he texted them and found out, yes, the judging had already taken place. Folks, I just want to say a lot of people put effort into this, and I'm not bemoaning or demeaning any of the people that won, and they very easily were the best. But the point is, we were putting the effort in, and if you've got a date and it needs to be changed, just like this meeting, this presentation about the awards was supposed to be at the council meeting 2 weeks ago, that's not a problem. You just post it. So that would be my only suggestion is if we set a date for judging, no matter what, whether it's a staff problem or temperature problem, we let everybody know that the fact is it's being changed. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. All right. Chris?
Okay.
Before we get started, Mr. Goebel would like to say something?
While Chris is getting set up, I might as well use the dead time. Mr. Goss brings up a couple of good points that I think we should consider. Getting close to July Fry is an interesting time to try to make things bloom. So I think they're good suggestions for us to consider for next year. Mr. Goss is also, anybody here who wants to know anything about plants, Ed's the man. He works at Armstrong Nursery. He is a wealth of knowledge about horticulture. And without plugging a particular nursery, I'll plug his knowledge because he is a very knowledgeable man about making your yard look good.
All right. Well, thank you all. And to bring up Armstrong's as well, they were our partner in this endeavor of promoting it to gardeners throughout El Cajon. And so just a quick reminder of why we did this program to begin with is, just want to make sure that my sound is on here for when we get that. Why we did this program was part of our goal-setting workshop for city beautification and community engagement. And this was one that really blended those two things together. We've got our residents engaged in a competition to beautify the city 1 yard or business at a time. And reason being for that, we know that gardening and green spaces not only contribute to economic development, there are plenty of studies out there showing that people shop more and spend more in places that are beautiful, but also for the safety of the community. There are countless studies done through urban areas across North America that show more planting space drives down crime and making it a safer, happier place for everyone to live. So with our June Bloom competition this year, we did have 95 entries across multiple categories. And so it was great. Marisol, she was one of our judges here, and she'll help me give out prizes to everyone. But we'll start with just a quick video that shows the winning gardens here that we had. We just wrapped up our first June Bloom of El Cajon competition, and this was a great initiative by our residents and businesses, because as we know, green spaces not only reduce crime, but they improve economies, and they make for happier residents overall. This year we had 95 entries, and we wanted to give you a showcase of some of the most beautiful neighborhoods that we came across. If you're interested in doing a curb appeal makeover on your street, drop us a line and we'll get you in touch with plenty of city resources to make that happen. And we want to say another big thank you to those that added that botanical beauty and made this June Bloom competition a great one. So with that, we do have prizes for our June Bloom winners. Unfortunately, I will take the blame for not understanding the process of getting checks cut in time, and I did not get all the paperwork done there. So those will get mailed to you, but we do have prizes for you as well. So if all of our winners from June Bloom could come on up, we will announce those, and Marisol and Jen are going to get you some prizes here. So one of the fun things that we did after this competition was we wanted to give everyone a unique piece of artwork that came out of their garden. So Reed Kasner is a photographer around the world of birds and plants, and he's been featured in Sunset Magazine, Better Homes and Gardens, so definitely a floral photographer. So we've got something special for each of you. Our first one is for Francie. Right here. All right. So we have a picture of your euphorbia there. He is not here right now. No, sorry.
Thank you. This is great.
And then Ariel.
I think we need to see these. So
oh, yeah.
If you can show the council, too. Yeah, there you go. Oh.
And so, Ariel, we've got a plumeria here. Kirsten. All right. So, Kirsten, she won the Pollinators. I should say who's winning what. She won the Pollinators Paradise one, and of course a bee just jumped on just in time for that. So, prove what she got there. I know Carla didn't make it, but her sister's here? Okay. So Carla had a really cool garden of all vegetables in the front yard. This is one of the dills that was in their front yard. Lighting turned out perfect, made it look like it was night, even though we shot that in the middle of the day. Molly is right back here, Camp Runamut with the hibiscus. And Molly, I have to say, normally in a flower photo, if I saw dog hair on a bloom, I would Photoshop it out, but I thought, you run Camp Runamut, I'm going to leave it there. So it's... Karen won the before and after. And so we've got an Anagoxanthus there for you. And Tammy, all right. We have, you're the only plant I don't know the genus on here. You're going to have to tell me what the cactus is. So she got the flower without the shower. Linda is here. And so, Linda, we've got your agave. And then our last one for the best retail patio. Mimo, you standing up? We have your pennisetum from your waterfall out front. So again, huge thank you to all of you guys for beautifying El Cajon. We really appreciate it, and we're hoping to see a lot more flower power in the city after this. So. And if you have not sent in your paperwork to Tracy, do that, and we'll get you your checks on the way. Any comments on that before I go to the next one? Okay.
No, fantastic. Oh, are we done with the plan?
We are done with that one, yeah.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Beautiful displays. And Chris, I think this is a great thing. I'm glad this is our first year. Some bugs in it, but we'll. Yeah, there's bugs and plants, and no, I think it's a great thing. It brings the community together, and it's nice to take pride in what we're doing. Congratulations, everybody.
All right, next up we've got our chief will join me here for Dog Days of Summer.
Hello,
Mayor,
sir.
Council, City staff, thank you very much for having us. Before I start, I would like to say a word of thanks to Chris Berg. And beyond just saying thanks, a very short story. I grew up in El Cajon in the 80s, graduated from Granite Hills in 93, have many memories of a lot of events in fire stations, in my school classrooms of firefighters visiting, of the rec centers in El Cajon and activities there. And what Chris has been able to do is really help us recreate that. Over my career, as we have become more and more impacted with emergency responses, our community engagement is difficult at best to maintain. And Chris has pushed our comfort limit throughout the planning of this event. There's many times he'd send me a list of the dozen activities that we were going to have, and my eyebrows probably went up, and we may have negotiated back and forth. And at the end of the day, I think other than launching someone out of the cannon, we did almost everything that he wanted to do. So a huge thanks to Chris for really helping the fire department engage with the community and have a very successful event. So without further ado, this Dog Days of Summer event, it happened on July 13th, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was actually our fifth one. We did 4 of them last summer, which was a massive amount of work, and we decided to focus on quality over quantity this year and had an extraordinary event with hundreds of people that attended. One of the first things that worked out really well because it was able to highlight our canine program in El Cajon Fire Department was some of the media coverage that Chris helped set up and getting our battalion chief and one of our station dogs, Yara, on the news for a really good interview. And the station dog program that started in El Cajon has really spread not only throughout Heartland Fire and Rescue, where we do have a total of 4 station dogs ranging from 5 pounds to about 60 pounds. The 5 pounds is a Chihuahua mix, by the way. Also from that, I think that helped attract a lot of people to the event, and that was super important. As you can kind of see from this photo montage, a ton of events, a ton of dogs got washed. Around 100 dogs were washed. One of the things that was unique about this is there was definitely some dogs there and some owners there where getting their dog washed was special. So that was awesome to see. Getting kids to show up in costume and get to flow water, amazing. Fitness competitions with firefighters and the local gym that was one of our partners, that was really incredible. Camp Run a Mutt, can't say enough about them. The ice cream that was brought out by Mercedes-Benz, truly a really good partnership and highlighted not only business in El Cajon, but also public safety.
Our annual Dog Days of Summer event at Heartland Fire and Rescue is a summer party designed to celebrate Yara, California's first full-time fire therapy dog. Yara has become a key part of the team, providing comfort and support right here in the firehouse. And more than 100 dogs brought their owners out for a day packed with fun and community spirit to celebrate her. Families had a blast touring the fire station, meeting their local heroes, and even trying out a fire hose. Kids got an up-close look at the life of a firefighter, touring trucks and engines and all the gear. We can't give a big enough thanks to our friends at Camp Run a Mutt for keeping the furry ones fresh and clean. Their team provided free dog washes for 4 hours straight. They truly made the day extra special. The trainers from Hardcore Fitness hosted their Fit as a Firefighter competition alongside the Heartland Recruitment Station. It was awesome to see everyone pushing their limits and having a blast. World-renowned dog groomer Gabe Fitosa brought his creatively groomed dogs from San Diego Humane Society. These stunning dogs were available for adoption and received a lot of extra attention. And the Humane Society was able to microchip 30 dogs at no cost. And the highlight of the hot August afternoon was the Sprinter van full of ice cream brought over by Mercedes-Benz. Dog Days of Summer was a huge success, filled with fun, learning, and community connections. We can't wait to do it all again next year. Thanks to everyone in our community who made this day possible and for supporting our amazing firefighters and their incredible dog, Yara.
I think Chris is going to take over with the awards, but definitely a shout out of thanks to our fire department staff. One of the things is we're just like all professions and just like the citizens where it's summertime. And so we have a lot of people on vacation. We had several people out on wildfires. We had people show up off duty to help out with the event. We had 6 of our chief officers show up, which is definitely was a big help. And we also had some Elko and PD officers there as well. So big help there, and had an excellent event.
Thank you. And so, yeah, if we could have our businesses that were part of Dog Days come on up for a second here. So a few, one, I want to say Camp Runamut, this was their second year helping us out with this, and massive help. This event would not be what it was without somebody to wash 100 dogs. And not only last year did they do this for several weeks, but this year they are actually in the process of moving locations, and so they took a day off of the remodel of their new one to come out and do a 4-hour dog wash for us with their staff. So with that, Mike and Molly, I'd like to present to you a certificate there. Thank you, sir. And we've got Dan here with Mercedes, and Dan has been a terrific supporter for our first responder events. They've been our top sponsor for National Night Out last year and again this year, coming up 2 weeks from today. And so this year he was very gracious to come out for Dog Days of Summer, bring his Sprinter Mercedes van, the fanciest ice cream truck I've ever seen, come out and had a whole lineup, and so that was a very warm summer treat. So thank you very much. And then 2 others that weren't here today that we have were just Hardcore Fitness again came out, and then Gabe Fitosa also came out. One of our neighbors, not even a resident, but he had a huge draw as well with all his colorful groomed dogs. So that was it for this year, and we're looking forward to another one.
Thank you, everybody, for being involved. And, Chief, please give our best to all the hardworking firefighters that helped us with this.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Lastly, we just did that, didn't we? Okay. We're at agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council members? We're now at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, we have any speaker cards for consent items?
We have no speaker cards, sir.
I'll make a motion then to approve the consent items. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
We're now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the Oklahoma Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any speaker cards for public comment?
We do, sir. We have 3. The first one is Steve Lordigan.
Hello, Mr. Lordigan. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Appreciate all that you do. I'm Steve. Some of you know who I am. Some of you don't. Affectionately known as Charger Steve to many. But I have been organizing the Cajon Classic Cruise for the last 2 decades. And I had ran into Bill as well as Graham a couple months ago at Downtown Cafe, and I had mentioned a video that I had made, and I was inspired and made it really especially for all of you. When I was trying to get it approved, Angela was kind enough to call and let me know that we wouldn't be able to play it. But I did want to ask if there was any way that we could make an exception to that rule, and I did bring it. I didn't realize there were so many things going on today. It's a busy day and a fabulous day, but I would like to ask Bill if he would give permission to either play today or at the next meeting. Or
I'd like to see it. Is it technically difficult to do, or?
I have it on a USB.
Mr. Mayor, depending on the length, I don't know if you can hear me. What I suggested to Kathy Zeman, as you know, Charger Steve is a contractor with the PBID, and it makes sense in my mind that the PBID, who's the organization we have a contract with, give a presentation about all the things that they're doing, and if they want to feature the car show, that might be the most appropriate way to bring that forward. And in that case, we could actually do it as an agenda item, not just a 3-minute city council presentation.
All right, let's talk to Kathy about that and have her bring it in.
Yeah, however you feel would be best.
Yeah, I would love to see it. So
great, awesome. And I did email it to you. I don't know if you had a chance to.
I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I'll email it to you again. And,
yeah, please do. Yeah.
I will check. So check with Kathy Zeman and see if she can get with Angela or Graham or somebody. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love for you all to see it. It is another feel-good video, and I've seen plenty today, and they're fabulous, so I just want to be part of the fabulousness.
No, we really appreciate what's happening with the car shows.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people really like it. It brings a flavor to El Cajon.
I'm very passionate. I work very hard to bring as many people as I can to the downtown area, and I would like to continue to do that as long as I can.
And we much appreciate it.
The 2 decades went by very fast.
They always do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Next speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Graham. Mr. Mitchell. There's a group that's going around and asking people to be careful of voter fraud this year. I think you should listen to them. I want to remind you that one year I was able to vote 4 times in 4 different places, and my party affiliate was changed without my permission. When I went to change it back to the register of voters, they did not even ask me for my ID. So just be careful. And I had my first taste of Karenism yesterday. I'm not going to get into details. I'll save that for another city. And lastly, I'm seeing homeless people being used for political gain. You all saw it last week. I don't agree with this. If these political people think that they're going to do something now for the homeless people, they should have done it before. They should have done it a while ago. But using people for their political gain, this presidential election is not right. It should be denounced. Thank you. Oh, thanks for the concerts.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
The last speaker is Michael Marr.
Hello, sir. Welcome for coming.
Hi. I just wanted to come here and speak because I've been trying to get the street between Madison and Oakdale on 3rd. I've been here 21 years, and twice in those 21 years they came and put a little bit of slurry on it, but it doesn't fix the street. Right now we have a tree that's tilting, it's going to land in a tree and somebody's going to get killed. The last week they came out, that's all they did when the concrete on the sidewalk is literally sticking up 45 degrees. It busted in half. So when my mother-in-law tripped on that spot 15 years ago, that's all they did, put a little concrete. Well, if it's only 45 degrees, how does somebody go up and down that street? I've seen handicapped people. I'm handicapped myself. I've seen people in wheelchairs. You can't go down the street because the sidewalk is not repaired right the first time. And, you know, right now I got pictures if anybody wants to see it. The homeless go back there. There's drug use going on back there. There's trash all over the place right now. It reeks of human feces. I call the cops all the time if I see something going on. When they come out, we get rid of them. But I'm one person trying to deal with an issue. The house right next to me at 581, corporate investors bought it. Well, the corporate investors don't want to trim the tree or the hedges, so that adds to the problem. They feel like, oh, look, it's shady over here. They come out there, trash all over the place. I just need to get some help to get this done. The saddest thing is our fire department has to run around the street to stay in shape. They shouldn't have to run in the street to get to exercise because the sidewalk isn't feasible for anybody to walk on, let alone jog to try to stay in shape. And, you know, we right on East Main in Oakdale, I was in my truck one day getting ready to get on the freeway, and it's a 7-Eleven now. It's still a gas station. I was shocked the day I seen cops have to play Molly maids to clean up the homeless' mess. It's a shame. They put a badge on to serve the community as peace officers to try to deal with the crime, the burglary, the murders, and all that. We shouldn't be expecting them to do it. I'm old school. If you're the homeless person dumping it, you're going to have a choice. You're going to leave here, you're going to pick your stuff up, I'm going to put a pair of bracelets on you and leave you in a county jail until you got it to your brain. That you don't just get to go to a community, live like bums, and expect everyone else to live like that. My property value has went down the toilet because I keep my property up as best I could. I didn't know about the easement that you have to maintain it. When I was in a hospital with a stroke, they put a note on the door. If you don't clean it, we're going to fine you, or we'll have someone clean up and trim it, and you'll get the bill. Well, when I was able to fix it, I trimmed them up. I always keep my stuff clean. My other neighbors say, you're always keeping the stuff clean. I said, hey, I'm not a pig. I don't want to live like one. But when you have property next door and you got corporate investors, they don't care. The people that live there now are just renters. They're nice people. When they ask me to help them, I help them out. You know, they're paying $4,000 a month for rent. And the owner of the property told them, I'm not fixing anything. Well, then maybe the city council can get on the corporate owners and say, look, we don't care if you bought the property. I don't care who bought the property. But you have to maintain that property just like anyone else around the neighborhood. You know? Trim it or get somebody in to trim the tree. If they would have kept up on trimming the tree, maybe it wouldn't have leaned. Right now, that tree's going to fall on that street and somebody's going to get killed. And then what's going to happen? There'll be news cameras out there, everything else. They're going to file a lawsuit. Then guess what? There's less money for the city to fix things because you got to pay somebody lawyer, you know? So
I want to thank you for coming. Your time's up, so we need to stop so we be fair for everybody. But I do want to tell you a couple things. I know that my city manager heard about the sidewalk and some of the other problems like that. That is our responsibility. And so we'll go out and take a look at that, and if it needs to be repaired, we'll repair it because we need to know about those things.
Yeah, you know, the handicap things on the corners, they did that a couple of years ago, but if you can't go down the street, because if you go from Oakdale on 3rd to Madison, the street starts at the corner, stop at the end of my property, Then just go to, and then from Madison coming this way, and it stops. It gets up to so, and then it stops. But across the street, when I spoke to people in the county before, when with the city before, they're like, oh, we just wait for people to buy this property up here, and then we make them do it. But nobody buys the property across the street. Well, the rest of us...
It's certainly got to be fixed, and we'll send somebody out to look at that. I wanted to address, you brought up the homeless issue, and I want to tell you, not just for you, but for everybody listening, that what we're seeing happening with the homeless is not something that we're okay with. Nobody on this dais is saying, yeah, that's just the way it is, and you got to get used to it. We hate it. We fight against the state of California every way we possibly can, but the state of California has decided that homelessness is a viable option in California. And everything we try to do, we get pushback from the state.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know that we care about it. We're doing everything we possibly can. We take it right to the edge of being lawful. We can't break the law, but we're doing everything we can to keep the streets clean. That's why we don't allow camping on the streets of El Cajon. And we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. You should call the police when people are misbehaving around your property. They don't mind. They're going to come out and do as much as they possibly can to help you. And I just appreciate you coming tonight.
You know, a peace officer, you put a badge on, that's a pride. You have pride to serve your community, and we got to do better by them and back them up. And you ain't getting no help from the state. I'm not blaming anyone here, but we got idiots up in Sacramento, and they ain't helping us.
I just want you to know that we really care about this issue. I think if there was one thing that keeps any of us up at night, it's the homelessness and crime. And that the police are on the same page, and the fire department's on the same page, and the management's on the same page. So bear with us. We'll do the best we can. If you see something that needs to be taken care of, please give us a call. Either call the police or call the city, and we'll do our best to help you. And why don't you come back and see us in a month or two and let us know how the sidewalk situation is.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Gary, sir, you may want to stick around for the no panhandling sign discussion. It's coming right up.
All right. Any more?
No other speaker cards, sir.
Okay. There are no written communications and no public hearings on today's agenda. We have 4 administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 9 is regarding the no panhandling signs. I'll ask our city manager to tell us about this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Really quickly, so this was an item that came forward as a city council recommendation to continue a discussion that has happened several times over the last few years, and the staff report identifies some of the times that we have talked about it as a council. If we can get my presentation up, it would be great. Perfect. So I just want to show the evolution of signs. So this is actually the first sign that the city council designed about when I started with the city of El Cajon. Part of that sign included at the time we had with the East County Homeless Task Force, we actually had a text to connect number that was utilized. It's no longer in service, but that was the initial sign that was developed years ago. And then the council said, let's update the sign. So we gave the council a couple different options. And then based on those options, you chose the one on the right, and that's the one that's currently up right now. And again, it focuses on not only the no panhandling, but it also identifies a positive thing that people can do, and that would be to give to a local charity. Council asked that staff look at redesigning the signs that we have right now, as well as some locations. And so we did some brainstorming, anywhere from focusing on how panhandling fuels addiction, showing how when you give money to a panhandler, it actually is part of the cycle of drug usage, and that spare change doesn't change habits. So these are very wordy type of signage, and we ended up simplifying it and went to a recommended sign that looks something like this, or a combination of what we have currently or this sign. So it talks about not supporting panhandling. It identifies how panhandling does contribute to alcohol and drug abuse. And then it also identifies that there is shelter and food available, and each of these signs would be unique depending on how far the intersection is from ECTLC, which is the address given there. So it gives not only the individuals that are panhandling a way to know where to get help, but it also reminds the motorists who are being asked to give money that there are legitimate solutions, there are legitimate ways for people to get assistance rather than panhandling. So that's on the sign. I'll get some feedback from the council in a second on that. This next shows all the different locations where the signs are currently located. The light blue dots are where existing signs are. And then there are 3 red dots that we would recommend adding additional signs or any other suggestions that the council may have. We're looking at right when you get off the 125, if you look at the west part of the city along Navajo, there's some opportunities for some signage there. Also along Greenfield and Interstate 8, there's a location where we see panhandling occurring, and there's not currently a sign. And then as you come down further along El Cajon Boulevard and Main Street, there's some areas in there that we would recommend a sign as well. So kind of near the Marshall MTS station. So with that, those are the recommended locations. I think it would be easy to say we could put a no panhandling sign in every corner, but I do worry that does send a message. I'll give you an example. I was recently in an airport in Atlanta, Georgia, and about every 10 minutes, there was a message from the mayor that came on and talked about, look for human trafficking. You too can help stop human trafficking. And I was with my brother who knows nothing about human trafficking, and I watched him pull his daughter a little bit closer and said, honey, we're not safe here. And I guarantee you inside the airport, his daughter was pretty safe, but it sent a message. And I worry that if we have proliferation of signs everywhere on every corner, it sends a message that it's more of a problem than it really is. So with that, staff is looking for any direction that you may have on either the redesign or any other opportunities for locations that you would recommend that the signs go. So with that, staff's here to answer any questions that you may have, and I'll go back to that sign. That's the redesign. I can toggle back and forth if you'd like as well.
All right, council. Here.
I really like the redesign. I think it says everything that needs to be said, and it says it very succinctly. There's no wasted words. It tells them exactly where to go. It tells the motorists that the people that are asking for money have a place to go for free food, shelter. So, well, why give them money? Why support their self-destructive lifestyle? So I really like it.
Anybody else?
Can you go back to the map? Yeah, I think the locations are good simply because it seems like most of the areas where I do see panhandlers in the median are close to the freeway. And when you get away from the main thoroughways, they start to dissipate. Is the plan to take down any existing old signs, and wherever there's existing old signs we put them up, or is it in addition?
We're currently, we can manufacture these signs in-house, but it does take a little bit of time and some staff time. So what we'd recommend is we would start developing new ones, but we wouldn't take them all down in mass. We would slowly take them down over a period of time.
So we're not going to keep the old ones up?
The goal would be for them to go down as soon as possible, but they would probably be up over the phasing of the installation.
Okay. And that was my other thing, is we should probably take the original ones down because we don't have that text line open again.
Those old original ones, those are gone.
Those are all gone.
The blue ones are gone, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, great.
Michelle?
Question on the redesigned sign. I like it. How big is that going to be? Is it the typical sign size?
We have actually two different signs. And is Ms. Adiano here? Oh, Ms. Adiano's here. I know we have two different signs, and part of it depends on, there is a site issue, and we have a bigger sign and a smaller sign. None of them are that big. They're all much bigger than that.
Okay.
and some of are jumbo sized, depending on where the location is, as long as it's not blocking a viewpoint. So,
the only reason why I ask is that, if it's the typical sign you see that's 18 by 10 or something like that, it's still pretty hard to read what it says, and we want to get the message out, especially about the free food and shelter, which reminds not only the panhandlers but the public that this is available. I just want to make sure that we're not wasting our time just putting it on a small sign. Thank you.
I'm going back to my marketing days, and a billboard, you get 3 to 9 words for people to look at. Granted, you're probably at a stop sign, so you have a little longer, but I'm thinking like the public here. If I see this sign, do not support panhandling, that's pretty harsh to me as a guy who hasn't done anything wrong yet. So I guess I'd like to soften it up a little bit and say, please don't support panhandling. That's more of an appeal rather than a directive for that point of view. I would take out the extra words that directly contributes to alcohol. I think everybody knows that. But what's the best part is free food and shelter. So if somebody's standing at a sign, as a driver, I could say, look, buddy, there's the solution right there. And I would just shorten it up. Please don't support panhandling. Free food and shelter is available at such and such. Good point. That is short, sweet, soft, and helpful.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to put the please in there, but it directly contributes to drug and alcohol abuse. I think it will make the motorist less likely. They may feel a little bit guilty, maybe never thought that it directly supports and directly contributes to drug and alcohol abuse, which it does. I mean, they're not doing them any favors by giving them $5. They can go buy a bottle of booze. So, I mean, it directly contributes to them continuing their self-destructive lifestyle. So the please is a good idea, and all the other stuff I like.
I just counter one. It directly contributes to drug and alcohol abuse. I'm close to the line of shaming somebody who happens to be struggling with something. And that's why I said take it off.
Well, I'll give a different perspective. I think from a psychological point of view, I like the idea of a directive. I like because we're not allowed to make a law against it, but we can be direct because we would, right? If we could make a law against panhandling, we would. So we're not allowed to. So the next best thing is say don't do it. It's harmful. So I agree with you that the words about alcohol and drug abuse are probably not going to be read. I like it simple. So I'll leave it up to you guys. But I think either way it works. I would recommend not using the word please, just because I want people to feel a little bit like I don't want to break the taboo.
I guess my compromise then, if you don't want please, then I'd make it don't support panhandling. Do not support panhandling is very harsh. Do not do this versus don't do this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that we keep that second part. It directly contributes to drug and alcohol abuse. I've had family members, I've had close friends deal with abuse in many different forms, and it's evasion of the real problem. And people are dying on the streets, and there's got to be a sense of urgency, showing that direct correlation. And the more we create diversions and outs, I don't think that we have the luxury of doing that. I think we have to be direct in the correlation between some portions of the homeless population who deal with drug and alcohol issues, addiction issues. And we're one of the only municipalities that are really confronting that. We're some of the only ones in California that are confronting that. And so I think we would be doing a disservice if we didn't say that, because it seems like every other government agency around us is either being evasive or not confronting it, or saying, drug and alcohol abuse doesn't contribute to homelessness or psychosis or mental health issues. And so, you could say, to soften it up, it can directly contribute to drug and alcohol abuse. Please don't support panhandling. But
I think that's too soft.
I don't think it does anybody any help. It doesn't do the residents any help. It doesn't do the people who are actually in addiction any help, because we can all agree that being in addiction is not good for them. So, yeah.
Bill, I know that you have expertise in this area because you used to admit people to the psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
And you've got a doctorate in psychology. What percentage of homeless people do you think abuse alcohol and drugs?
Yeah, so if you look at the studies, it says it's somewhere around 45, maybe 35%. Those are self-reported studies. I don't believe that for a second. I think if you ask any cop or firefighter, all you people on the police and the fire department, if you want to tell me I'm wrong, please do. But in my experience working in the hospital, we did drug and alcohol testing on every single person that came in, including all the homeless people, which is probably about 30% of the people that came into the hospital. I don't remember anybody not testing positive for drugs or alcohol. I mean, it had to be in the high 90s.
See, I think this is something that the citizens of El Cajon want us to be tough on. They just had it with all the homeless people breaking into the cars and breaking into the houses and stealing stuff and doing awful things in the street. They just want us to stop it as best we can. And we have very few tools in our toolbox these days because of the state. So I think we need, the tougher we are, the more the public's going to like it.
What if we say, don't support panhandling, prevent drug and alcohol abuse?
Sure.
I'm a little, like from the legal perspective, I'm wary of saying panhandlers. All panhandlers directly abuse drug and alcohol. So I'm a little, I'd say don't support my compromise is don't support panhandling, help prevent drug and alcohol abuse, or something like that.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think we all understand the nuances of the homeless population, and that, not all homeless people are created equal. Some have addiction problems, some don't. I was homeless in college. I lived out of my truck. Michelle, you said that you've been homeless. So we all understand that nuance. And so I get Steve's point in saying, we don't want to directly pigeonhole everybody and silo everybody. That makes sense. But I do still feel like we have to correlate the two between panhandling and substance abuse. I mean, we can't be evasive on this topic. So, yeah.
I'm comfortable with Steve's interpretation, and I think there's some merit to it. We want to be tough, but at the same time, we want to avoid appearing heartless, and because I don't think we're going to solve the problem if we're heartless. So, and which to be truthful, El Cajon is not heartless. El Cajon spends more money per capita on giving treatment options to people than any other city in the area. So, all right. Is there any other thoughts on this? I think we just need. You have all the information you want.
Very helpful. Any thoughts on, instead of prevent drug and alcohol abuse, stop drug and alcohol abuse? That way, you're more active in that, or
help stop,
or help. Yeah. I think the less words better, but
okay.
Or is prevent softer?
Steve,
I actually like what you said.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And I heard the word don't, and then council's okay with the 3 new locations for signs. Okay. If there's other locations that you see, we can. That's pretty flexible, so let me know. But we'll go from there.
Would it be what? Would you need to put ECTLC, because it's ECTLC's site on the address, right?
Yeah, we'll double check.
Do
with
we
them.
want?
Like, for example, with 211, we had their 211 number at one point. They did not want us on their sign, so we were sensitive to that. So we'll make sure that we communicate with them.
Okay, yeah.
But they are our provider. We give them funding. They operate on a CUP that predicates that they help El Cajon homeless. So I would have a hard time if they're not comfortable with that. Then I think we have to reevaluate our relationship with them.
I know that we had 211 on there. We just didn't use their logo.
Correct. We were not able to use their logo. That's correct.
Do we want to do 211 again, or?
I'll be honest. I don't know how useful it is, and I think a lot of people in the homeless community know that 211 is a resource or not a very helpful resource.
I think there's too much on there already.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
And this way, the public sees exactly where it is. 0.8 miles from here. Is that asking somebody too much to go 0.8 miles to get food and shelter and drug counseling? I don't think so. It's not like they have to go to El Centro or downtown San Diego.
We good? We good? Can we put one in front of my house so my kids don't come back and fleece me all the time?
We'll give you a customized one.
Yeah. I'll give you the names.
Mayor, we do have a speaker on this.
Oh, we do? Okay, yes. Great.
It's Brenda Hammond.
Hi. My only suggestion is, Graham, you might want to change the color of the hand because this election season, you're going to have a lot of complaints. And I know that from experience. Just a suggestion.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, we had talked about, we'd used a outlined hand before. We'd probably use that again.
Thank you, Brenda. Good idea. Okay. Do we need anything else on this, Graham? Are you set?
All set. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to go on to item 10. Item 10 is update on homeless programs and services. Staff, please introduce this item. Hello. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Yanira Pelayo, and I am the Senior Management Analyst with the Housing Division and the Community Development Department. The goal of today's presentation is to update you on the programs and services that the city is undertaking to address homelessness. In the last 6 months, from January 1st to June 30th of this year, the city has spent $754,418 in services. This includes funds from state, federal, and general fund. The city was able to provide services for 2,157 persons. Out of that total, 31 persons were placed in emergency shelter, 256 in bridge and or transitional housing, 33 in supportive housing, and 129 in permanent housing. This table breaks down the services and the results provided per program in the last 6 months. So, as you can see, the programs include case management, housing navigation, outreach events, emergency shelter, rental assistance, rapid rehousing, and other supportive services. The program providers for these programs include the Salvation Army, Interfaith Shelter Network, Homestar, ECTLC, and Crisis House. This slide covers the aggregate data for the past 4.5 years dating back to January 2020. The city has allocated about $6.4 million for these services, and this also includes multiple funding sources. This includes about $5.8 million that goes towards homeless and housing programs, a little over $591,000 that goes towards neighborhood cleanup efforts, and a little over $22,000 to the East County Homeless Task Force. The funding sources that are allocated include low and moderate income housing funds, CDBG, one-time CDBG CARES Act funds, the general fund, and PLHA funds. Together, these programs overall have assisted 10,700 persons. Out of that total, 3,500 were assisted with some type of housing or shelter, and out of that total, 1,200 were placed in permanent housing. As a result of the data provided today, staff recommends that the City Council continue funding all of the active programs, to continue financial contribution to the East County Homeless Task Force, to continue regional approach to address homelessness, seek new funding opportunities, and monitor contract performance. The city will continue to operate the programs talked about today through various ongoing services or ongoing funds, and that includes CDBG, PLHA, and LOMAD housing asset funds. And PLHA stands for Permanent Local Housing Allocation Fund. That concludes my presentation. Staff is available to answer questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you very much. Questions? No, you did such a good job. Nobody has any questions.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's any speaker cards on this item.
No speaker card, sir.
All right. Any further discussion, or would someone like to proceed with a motion?
I've got some comments, if I could.
Please.
The county has tried many times to put tiny homes out into East County. Last Thursday night, they had a forum in Lemon Grove, which was attended by between 300 to 400 people, and that it was a horrible outcome. I mean, Supervisor Anderson just about got chased out of Lakeside, Santee, and now Supervisor Montgomery Stepp got chased out of Spring Valley and Lemon Grove. The people want solutions, but they don't want it in their communities. And I think, unfortunately, there's a tremendous amount of misinformation out there and fear of the unknown. Fortunately, we have provided lots of solutions with lots of great providers. I don't know what it's going to take to get that word out to the county, to these other cities. I spoke with the chief of the district attorney's East County office last week, and he said that the judge who recently handled a bunch of cases for El Cajon said, the judge said there's just no solutions. What am I going to do? Am I going to fine them? We're going to pay. It's just going to clog up the system. If I sentence them to a week in jail, where are they going to go? They're not going to go into jail. So even the judge said, I have no solutions. It's too bad, because if you look at the numbers here, the first slide said 754,000 in the past 6 months divided by 2,000 people. That's an average of $377 to help people. And for the 4 years, if I divide the 6.4 million divided by the 1,200 people who've been permanently housed, that's only $5,800 to permanently house somebody in the past 4 years. So our providers in the city are just doing really great work. I wish we could get it out. The tiny homes at Meridian, people in Lemon Grove said, oh, no, it's too close to a school. Well, our tiny homes are across the street from Meridian Elementary, and they haven't had one complaint in the 2 years it's been up. Oh, well, the neighbors are going to complain. You don't know who they're bringing in the neighborhood. Well, the neighbors 10 feet on the other side of the block wall said, we're good. We're good. It all depends on the intake screening process. Not everybody wants to go into housing. Those that do are screened. They're screened well by Home Start, Crisis House, Meridian. And 13 of the 19 people that have been in those tiny homes, 68% have gone on to more permanent housing. The problem with the county's approach, it's a push strategy. We're going to push these into Lemon Grove. We're going to push these into Spring Valley, we're going to push these into Lakeside, and people are saying, no way. And honestly, folks, I think the solution is if we had those tiny homes, and if that location got $1,000 per month as a stipend to host 6 homes, they'd get $6,000. And if you want to do 10 homes at a VA property for veterans, that's your choice, $10,000. I think you'd get a lot more places pulling the county to say, we want to do the 10 homes. We want to do 6 homes, because if we get $10,000 of income, if we get $6,000, they'd say, we will be a site host. We'll be a site host. Why $1,000? Today, the county spends $147 a night to put people in motels. That's just a motel room. There's not even, the supportive services just aren't there. That is over $4,500 a month that we pay to house somebody in a motel. How about we give the VFW hall $1,000? And I'll tell you that VFW hall is going to make sure that that veteran gets a better shot than just being in a motel room. I'm off my soapbox. That's all my comments.
Michelle, and then Gary.
Steve, I agree with you. And I think part of the problem with the county, and I was talking to someone else the other day about it, is that what they're trying to do is put 70 homes in one spot. Well, that's going to impact the neighborhood far more than 6. If you would put 6 here, 10 there, 15 over here, it has less of an impact on the neighborhoods around them. You don't have the calls for crime or, the calls for service for police. And I think it's not as intrusive, but the county just doesn't seem, and I hate saying it's the county's fault, but it seems like they don't get that point. They just want to put everything all in once. And yes, I get it, that it's easier to have all the services right in one spot. And it's cheaper to not have to hire a case manager for each of the site. But isn't the goal to help people, not hire people or not hire people? I think the goal is to get people into housing and get them on a path of self-sufficiency, and you can't do that if a case manager's got, 70 people, or I don't know how many case managers they're going to have on a site. But I think that's part of the problem, is they're just not looking at it from a standpoint. They didn't come out here and ask us. If they'd have come out and asked us how we're doing on our tiny home village, I think that would have been, they would find some great information. And I'd like to see more of it. And, our safe parking, we got 17 spots. I haven't heard of anything that's happening on that. That it shows that if you put smaller portions in there, or, smaller sections, safe parking or tiny homes or whatever, it's better received by everybody.
And I'm told Pastor Slade said there have been no calls for service for the police at his site in 2 years. No calls. And this isn't the fix-all solution for everybody, because there are many solutions. I'm just saying this is one that the push solution of 70, 150 units, it's not working.
No.
And I think we have a solution that's working. Just need to get the word out. I think it needs a tweak. And I think you'd have a lot of people around town saying, I'll take 5,000, I'll take 7,000. And pretty soon you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Exactly.
Well, I want to compliment Councilman Goebel on a great soapbox speech. I'm going to give you a soapbox, another one for Christmas, I think. But that was really good. I agree with everything you said. I was on the council 20 years ago when we approved the opening of ECTLC, and we had about 500 people out in the audience and outside, and we had 1,100 people to sign petitions that said, these people are going to steal our children in the middle of the night. And, in fact, a guy that had a business across the street sued us, and he got either his son or nephew into the program, dropped a lawsuit, came in here, and I got to give him credit for this. He says, I was wrong. This is a great organization. And I know a lot of souls have been saved by that organization. And Steve, you're exactly right, and so are you, Michelle, in that you can't have a huge concentration in any one area because that tends to make things go bad. They learned about that in the projects in Chicago and other places where you kind of concentrate poverty. I think sprinkled around a few tiny homes won't have a very big impact. And the other thing is that you vet them. And that's something that I suspect is not happening now in some of these motels that are causing us problems. So we don't want to go down that road. So I think there are places that could have tiny homes. Maybe Grossmont College could put in 10 of them somewhere. You know, they got a bunch of extra land, and you know, you have a person from the social services make the rounds because it's all going to be in a relatively small area. El Cajon just isn't that big. So I think that's a good direction for us to take.
Anybody else?
I agree with my colleagues. I think we have great programs. I think we have great providers. I just had a conversation with the councilwoman in Lemon Grove, Allison Snow, about this exact conversation. And I invited her to come tour ECTLC with me. And if you have any residents that have concerns, bring them with. And she said, what time? I said, anytime. It could be 9 a.m. or 12 o'clock at night. You wouldn't know it's a homeless shelter. I guarantee you. And to your point, Steve, it's not all, just like all homeless people aren't created equal, all homeless providers aren't created equal. And ECTLC and our providers run great programs. And I think that's because that's the success that you're talking about. And I would just, if any resident has concerns about it, they shouldn't be concerned about having homeless people in your community. They're already in your community. They're all here. They're already here in your community. You should be concerned about what providers are providing the homeless services in your community. That should be your concern. And we have great partners. And so I would agree with staff recommendation at the end of our agenda to continue funding programs described above, and all staff recommendations 1 through 9.
Could I put the brakes on for just 1 second? I've got to ask if there's any speaker cards on this item.
No speaker cards.
Now you may make your motions.
Point of order, do we need a motion, or is it just direction?
We just need to accept the report. So
Yeah, we're just looking for any direction or feedback. So if that council's
make a
okay with
motion.
where we're going, let's just proceed.
Yeah, I'll make it a motion. Yeah.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Great, thank you. Item 11 is an all-way stop sign request on Greenfield Drive at Camillo Way. Staff, please tell us about this. Hi, Maria. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Mario Sanchez, the city engineer for the Department of Engineering Services. Today I'm going to talk about a request that we received by the school district and by nearby residents. And the location's at Greenfield Drive, and the cross street is Camilo Way, and it's a T intersection. And it's in the vicinity of Greenfield Middle School, and there's a traffic signal controlled intersection at North 3rd Street at Greenfield Drive, which acts as a crosswalk for students to get across, as well as Greenfield Drive and Camilo Way. So this is a T intersection. There's an existing stop sign on Camilo Way. There's an existing school crosswalk on the east leg of the intersection that is controlled by a push button, which activates pedestrian warning beacons. And the posted speed on Greenfield Drive is 35 miles an hour. There's a picture of this intersection. We conducted a traffic study, as we do for all our always stop requests, and we put traffic counters out there on the street and collected some data. And there's approximately 9,800 vehicles per day that travel through this intersection, with 7,900 per day on Greenfield Drive and roughly 1,900 vehicles per day on Camilo Way. We also did an investigation of the accident history, and we looked at the last 5 years. And this particular location had 4 accidents. I think 3 were broadside. I'm sorry, 1 was broadside type of accident, and 3 was due to unsafe speed and a rear end type accidents there. So we looked at the intersection corner sight distance. If you want to go back to the last slide. And we looked at measured the sight distance as you're on Camilo Way, trying to turn left or right out of onto Greenfield Drive. And the recommended standard sight distance you need is 385 feet. We measured only about 75 feet from the stop limit line. So we take all the data and we run it through our warrants for always stop, and we usually follow the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and we also use a point system that was developed several years ago by the city of San Diego. And when we do this criteria, a minimum of 30 points out of 50 is required to satisfy an always stop. For this particular location, we scored 35 points, and we are recommending for an always stop. But I just want to point out that if we do put an always stop, we'll have to put in a crosswalk on the west leg of the intersection and construct a new pedestrian curb ramp. And with that, we'll have to remove the flashing beacons, but we can always take a look and add red flashing beacons at the stop sign. Next slide. So staff is recommending that we install permanent always stop signs at Greenfield at the intersection of Camilo Way. And I'll conclude my presentation and open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Mario. Questions?
Thank you for a good presentation. When you put especially on Greenfield, because there's a lot of traffic as you gave the numbers, and I think speed is an issue as well. When you put permanent always stop signs, do you give do you put something flashing and let them know? Because for years there hasn't been a stop sign there.
Yes.
So I'm just concerned of people just kind of blowing through it because they're not used to it being there.
Since this is a school area, we do special emphasis on additional signage,
okay,
flashing beacons as needed, and put all our warning signs so that gives a motorist enough time to stop, enough forewarning to stop at the stop sign. So
perfect.
We take that all in consideration.
And that'll probably slow it down too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good point. So do you use portable sign trailers to say new stop ahead or something?
For when we do install, we'll post warning signs that a stop sign is going to be installed here.
Okay.
And then we'll have permanent warning signs, stop ahead, and if need be, also with flashing beacons.
Okay, any other questions? Gary?
I know I used to have to take my son to UCSD almost every day, and they have stop signs, sometimes in places where you wouldn't think they would be, and the stop sign has little LED flashing red lights all the way around it. So, it draws your attention. Go, oh, there's a stop sign.
Yeah, we can entertain that idea, and I think we're going to do that on Taft Avenue. Is that correct?
Yeah, I found that very effective. And while you're here, I just wanted to compliment you on Fletcher Parkway going down the hill. on the sign that has the speed that you're going, and when someone goes over the speed, it whirls around like this on the lights, and that catches your eye. And I think that's, and I see all these people slow down, so that's really effective.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mario. Appreciate that. Any speaker cards on this item?
We have no speaker cards, sir.
Okay, then I bring it back to the council for discussion and or a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
The last administrative report, item 12, is on the city's sign ordinance. And it looks like Noah is here to brief us on this.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Again, Noah Alvey, Deputy Director for the Community Development Department, and here today just for a real high-level general discussion on the sign ordinance. Just for background, this item was initiated as part of the 2024 City Council Action Plan. That's where the council wanted to review the sign ordinance as part of the city's beautification goal. So just at a super high level, in general, the purpose of sign regulations is to ensure adequate identification, first and foremost, but really also to improve the appearance of the community, to preserve property values, and also to promote a safe environment. Also want to note in just general terms again that the U.S. Supreme Court has determined that our sign regulations must allow both commercial and non-commercial messages, and we really need to be aware of constitutionally protected free speech. Additionally, I want to note that the current sign ordinance that the city has really been designed to be business friendly, and it's really generally less restrictive than most other sign ordinances in East County. So here, showing some pictures just of temporary signs. These include banners, balloons, searchlights, inflatable objects, pennants, and streamers. The banner examples that you see here include a grand opening sign and pennants on light poles. Also want to note that temporary signs do not include animated signs, flashing signs, sign spinners, portable signs, or revolving signs. These signs are prohibited, except that portable signs and flashing signs, including light ropes, may be permitted within the downtown master plan area. There was quite a bit of discussion going back in 2021 and back into 2017 with regards to light ropes and those types of signs in the downtown master plan area. Ultimately, in 2021, the council decided to take no action with regards to those types of signs. So for timing, temporary signs are allowed for new businesses for 30 days, so grand opening signs for 30 days. They're also allowed during the holiday sign periods that are shown on this slide. In general, they're very generous and allow these temporary signs to be displayed throughout really common times of the year, such as Valentine's Day, when we have a lot of people selling flowers, or during the winter holiday when people like to put up additional sign decorations. In addition to the holiday sign exceptions, businesses can also apply for a temporary use permit. So if they have a special event that they want to conduct, such as a customer appreciation event, or if they want to have their annual sale, they can apply for that temporary use permit and also get temporary signs during that time. So at the dais today, staff did provide an errata for this agenda item. We wanted to further cover off-site subdivision signs. Last month, the city held a development permitting roundtable, and we requested feedback from the development community with regards to the overall development process. One of the issues that came up at the roundtable was related to off-site subdivision signs. So we just wanted to emphasize that the existing sign ordinance does allow these types of signs. You're allowed to have up to 4 off-site subdivision signs. Those have to be located on private property. They can go up to 128 square feet, but they can also be larger if they're located in certain commercial zones. These examples here obviously aren't within the city of El Cajon, but they're examples of the types of signs that any new subdivision could put up that would be directional and allow the subdivision or anyone traveling down the freeway or down any road to be able to access the proposed subdivision. Oops. So for wall signs, sorry, my computer's going too fast. For wall signs, businesses are allowed a maximum cumulative sign area of 4 square feet per lineal foot of building facade. The provision for wall signs is reduced to 2 square feet per lineal foot of building facade within the downtown master plan area, as well as office professional zones. So on the left-hand side, you can see an example of can signs that are at 4 square feet per lineal foot in a general commercial zone. On the right, you see in the downtown area signs that are a little bit smaller at 2 square feet per lineal foot. In addition, in the downtown master plan area, can signs are prohibited, so you have to have the channel letter signs, which are the examples shown on the right. So next, monument signs. Monument signs are just low-profile freestanding signs. They're typically 8 feet or less in height and length, and 2 feet or less in width. They contain no more than 48 square feet per sign face. These are really common for smaller commercial properties that are typically single tenant, such as a 7-Eleven or some of the offices that you see on the left-hand side along Fletcher Parkway. So pylon or pole sign examples are shown here. They are generally up to 24 feet in height and have a maximum of 100 square feet in sign area. They're only allowed on properties that have a minimum of 150 feet of street frontage or at least a size of 1/2 acre. There is provisions in the sign ordinance as well for multi-tenant signs to be bigger. So you can see in the 2 examples to the right where they slightly bigger than 100 square feet, allowing multiple signs for larger commercial properties. So next, freeway-oriented signs. These are signs that are allowed on sites that are 2 acres or more in size. They can go up to 65 feet in height, and they do have a maximum sign area of 2 square feet per lineal foot of freeway frontage. So these signs can be pretty large. There's also exceptions in the sign ordinance where these signs can be slightly taller. The example of the Toyota sign on the left-hand side of the screen there, it goes up to, I believe, about 85 feet. It was granted that exception because when viewed from the freeway, it's essentially at a 65-foot height. Additionally, I just wanted to mention that all of the signs that we've discussed can be electronic signs, so you can apply for a minor use permit to convert any approved sign into an electronic sign. So the Toyota El Cajon sign obviously is an example there where it is an electronic sign. Also for electronic signs, they can include any illumination or flashing or any messages that change or are in motion. So today's summary was really just intended to be very high level in the most general terms. What we're asking council to do is to discuss any particular component of the sign ordinance in more detail that they want to give direction to staff about. We can do additional analysis. We can come back with more information, or if there's a particular section that you would like to focus on, we can take that back to the Planning Commission, conduct some workshops, do some additional feedback with the business community, and then bring something back to council. So council doesn't need to make any specific decisions on any issues right now. Any updates obviously would go through the Planning Commission and City Council through public hearings. So at this time, we're just asking for direction from council in relation to that city beautification goal on what we can do to improve the sign ordinance.
Thank you, Noah. Let me see if there's any questions. No, good job. Thanks.
All right.
Any speaker cards on this item?
We have no speaker cards, sir.
All right. Well, let's see. Do we need a motion for this?
We were not asking for a motion on this item, just for general feedback. So if there was no direction from council on any changes to the sign ordinance, then that would be sufficient.
I think the council is believing you're on the right track.
Okay. Okay.
I think at one time we talked about the LED colored lights that border windows in the downtown area and throughout town. And I think even you, Mr. Mayor, had a thought maybe it's gone a little too far for colors. And should we look at that again? I don't know what your feeling is today.
No, I actually agree with you.
That's two of us. We would need three of us to say, let's take a look at that.
Well, let's discuss that part. Anybody else have an issue with that? I was reluctant, to be honest, because I believe in free trade and I believe in giving businesses all the latitude they can have to do their business the way they want to do it. But human nature sometimes take things further and further and further, and I think we've reached that point where we might want to consider dialing it back a bit. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think that the moving LEDs are very, very distracting, and it kind of gives that cheap Las Vegas look, actually. But stationary LEDs, I think they actually look really good, enhance the building. You go down Main Street USA in Disneyland, people pay $100 to walk in the door. All those buildings are lit up at night with LEDs, and it's very beautiful. But I think the lights that are flashing or lights kind of look like they're revolving, I think that part is going too far. And I remember comments from some of the business owners that say they want some light there and not just a garish spotlight, something somewhat tasteful, which LEDs can be, just because for safety purposes, and all those LED lights kind of give off an ambient light overall that makes Main Street look a lot safer.
You obviously haven't been to Disneyland in a while.
Pardon me?
You said you spent $100 to go to Disneyland. You haven't been there in a while.
Oh yeah, let's say 150.
300. But all right.
My question for Councilman Kendrick is, at Disneyland, they kind of maintain an overall brand image that all the LED lights are white. Yet in El Cajon, we have yellow and pink and red and purple and blue. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd be okay with just going with white. I think that would make it look a little bit better, but I'm open to suggestions on that.
I have a thought. Since we're at the planning stage and Noah's going to take it back and work on it and bring it back to the planning, Noah, you hear what we're saying. We're looking for a little higher level of sophistication with the lighting in that respect. Can you come back with recommendations, see maybe other cities that have had success with their sign ordinances in regard to that?
Certainly. I would just ask, would it be the council's preference to come back with options for council to consider, or would you just like to refer the general matter back to staff, and then we can run that as a petitional code amendment through the Planning Commission?
I think we'd like to have a look at it, right?
Yeah, let's review it first before we do anything.
I like the idea of staff and Planning Commission, which is why it's there, and their expertise in these things, and to go through the chain. That would kind of cut the council out of the process. Are you comfortable with that? Just letting the Planning Commission make this decision? Do they make the final decision?
Well, they would make a recommendation. So what my thought would be, we would identify examples of maybe some of the garish-looking buildings that you made reference to, and we would then look at other cities and how they've dealt with it or addressed it, and maybe some solutions of how to get from where we're at today to how I think I'm hearing at least three of you have mentioned. So once we have that analysis done, we can either bring it back to the council and say, are we on the right track? If so, let's go to the Planning Commission and let's get some more feedback from the community that way. Or we can just take that straight to the Planning Commission. They'll make a recommendation. They'll bring it back to the council.
As long as it comes back to us in the end, I think I'm fine with that.
Okay. Bill?
Michelle and then Gary.
So want to put my 2 cents in. I agree with you guys. I like the uniformity of just having white lights. It gives it a bit of, yes, the illumination, but it's classier in the sense of it's more uniform. You go through and you can have the signs, but I don't like all the different colors. It just looks like a circus.
Well, just part of our analysis will be the white lights, but there are, and I can think of some examples of major international corporations that their color isn't white. I'll use T-Mobile for example. They are pink. They're hot pink, right? And so I think it's the application of the light that could be more important than the actual color of the light. So we'll look at all of that. So we weren't ignoring that you only want white lights, but I think we need to look at the whole picture and give you a couple options of how to get to where we think you want to go.
Yeah, I'd like to see another city who's done it well, because none of us are lighting or civil engineering experts, it'd be nice to see if it's working somewhere.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because if we don't come back with an only white light policy, it's because we did some analysis related to that. So,
quick question: if this were to be implemented, and say we were going to make a change, all the lights that are currently out there would they be grandfathered in, or would they have to comply with the new zoning?
That's a good question. We'd have to analyze that a little bit more.
Okay.
We're assuming this is. I want to look at what our exception is for the downtown and what the restriction is outside of that before I could answer that question.
All right, thanks, Councilor. Appreciate that. Okay, Gary?
Yeah, I was in old downtown Anaheim about a year ago, and they had all white lights, and the buildings are outlined with white lights, and it was just beautiful. And there weren't any really bright lights. It was just a very calm, relaxing atmosphere. So we might want to get a couple pictures of downtown old Anaheim to take a look at.
Will do.
Okay. Anybody else? More direction? Okay. Great. Thanks, Noah. I think you've got our direction. Thank you for bringing us a comprehensive report. All right, there are no commissioner reports on my agenda today. Item 13 is my activity report, which is as reported. And now I'm looking for activity reports for the rest of the council. Councilmember Goebel.
As reported.
Councilmember Kendrick.
As reported.
Councilmember Mitchell.
As reported.
Deputy Mayor Phil Ortiz.
As reported with one addition, July 17th, I attended the East County Economic Development Council board meeting.
Okay. There are no joint council member reports, no general information items, no first or second readings of ordinances, no closed session items on today's agenda. This brings us to the adjournment. The adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 23rd day of July 2024 is adjourned till tonight, Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. See you then.